Self-perception theory is a theory that when our attitudes and feelings are uncertain or ambiguous, we infer these states by observing our behavior and the situation in which it occurs. Essentially what this tells us is during any situation we have the ability to introspect and gather information about our feelings or how we see ourselves. For example, imagine walking down the street with someone who you find attractive. While the conditions may be neutral, like walking down the street, we may get nervous and think we look like this. How we view ourselves is the heart of self-perception theory. Social tuning is the process whereby people adopt another person's attitudes. To elaborate, imagine going to a funeral. Usually the tone and atmosphere is somber and respectful, and because that is how others act, we tend to behave in a similar manner. Another example would be a wedding, where the atmosphere is positive, but still others sit quietly and respectfully during the wedding ceremony. Using social tuning, we often adapt others' attitudes and behaviors, which is why attitudes and behaviors that are different are both noticeable and perceived as weird or different or even inappropriate. I'm going to play a small example of Logan Paul at a wedding. I'm sure all of you are going to cringe like I did because he is not utilizing social tuning.
Sorry guys. Sorry we're late. This is awkward.
Sorry about his behavior.
Sorry. Wow.
Beautiful.
This could be us, but you're playing.
You're playing.
Self-persuasion is a means of adjusting both behavior and attitude and bringing it in line with each other. This is to reduce cognitive dissonance. In essence, this is an internal justification of our own behavior. It should be noted that self-persuasion is perhaps the best and longest lasting way to change behavior. Let's suppose that a person is told by their doctor to lower their caffeine intake. This person has a strong like for caffeinated beverages, but their doctor has told them that it is a major threat to their health. What will occur now is cognitive dissonance. The person wants to drink their caffeinated beverages, but no longer can do so. Thus, in order to explain their behavior and reduce cognitive dissonance, they will justify their efforts, stating the health risks are too great, thus reducing cognitive dissonance, resulting in behavior change. However, let's assume their health risks dissipate. It would be good to assume that the person would likely go back to drinking their favorite beverages, even if that is not perhaps best for long-term health. Now let's suppose the situation has changed slightly, and the individual no longer suffered major health threat, but instead a minor one. And yet the doctor still required that the individual cut their caffeine intake. Now suppose the situation is still the same. The person enjoys their caffeinated beverages. They wish to continue drinking it. However, they stop in order to benefit their long-term health. This scenario will possess a greater gap in justification, resulting in no easy answer to reduce cognitive dissonance. Therefore, the individual might decide to persuade himself that he actually doesn't like caffeinated beverages, or maybe not as much as he used to. He doesn't really need it all that much. After the individual's minor health issues subside, then it is likely that the behavioral change will remain, thus creating a long-term effect upon the individual, increasing his overall health and well-being throughout the rest of his life, or until he persuades himself otherwise. Groupthink. It is what occurs when a group of people make discussion in which it becomes impossible to voice a counter-opinion. To voice a counter-opinion requires breaking consensus and group cohesion, thus destabilizing the group entity. The individuals belonging to a collective in which groupthink is present become unlikely or unable to challenge accepted wisdom. Even if an individual does challenge hegemony, then it is likely the group will turn on them and either try to force the individual to conform or cast them out. Some disastrous and deadly examples of groupthink include presidential administrations and their choices and decisions. Think Bay of Pigs, Kennedy, the Iraq War, Bush. In either example, there is no question on whether the prevailing wisdom of the administration was correct or not. For Kennedy, the Bay of Pigs was a certainty. There was no way it would fail. For the Iraq War, well, what could go wrong?